Hey everybody, it's Riley. And so I've got my hat head and my rosy cheeks. I had been outside from 6:30, I think a little sooner than that, until just a little while ago. I came home and did a few things in the house, and I have come upstairs to get ready for bed. So today is day 17 of our Soulful journey. And so today we're talking about resilience through challenges. And so one of the things that I like to remind people is that if you're still here, you are resilient. And so a lot of times we don't think that we're resilient because we've got so many things that are going on in our lives that just seem to build up, right? So there's just lots of things that tend to happen. And it all depends. And I'm just finding the more that we age, the more that these things are it just seems to be one thing after the other. And so it's just really important for us to be able to remember that through our experiences, through the adversities that we actually go through, we are resilient. We build that resilience. And for some of us, we've been building that resilience from the time that we've been little. And whereas others, it has been a hard run throughout the entire adult life. So it all depends on where we are, what it is that's going on. But it's about us being able to navigate through life's challenges. We all have challenges. We all have setbacks. We all have things that we are trying to work through, that we are trying to deal with, and none of us come without them. Some people have more challenges than others, or it appears to be that way in some cases. But being able to figure out how to be able to navigate them makes a huge difference as to how we're going to take things to that next step, to take things to that next level. What is it that we're going to be doing? And so when we overcome any kind of challenge, then that just builds that next step of that resilience, and it just takes it to that next level of when something happens again, we can build through it again. And sometimes, depending on where we are in our lives, is that when we don't have a chance to be able to build that resilience because something new has just happened, and then something new has just happened, and we don't even have a chance to catch our breath, then it's really important for us to be able to take a step back and figure out, like, what do we need to do next? How are we going to be able to do that? And one of the things that I do with some of my clients who have been in those situations where it just doesn't seem to stop is that we create a resiliency plan. And so, because when we can actually figure out what it is that's going on or how it is that we're going to navigate around it, it makes all the difference in the world as to what's the next step. And so it's challenging. Life is challenging, and it doesn't seem to, it doesn't choose what it is that one person is going to do or how one person's going to do it. It just seems to be one thing, and that just takes things to that next level. And so when we talk about resiliency, so I'm going to use like a very kind of mundane experience in terms of being able to just demonstrate like how resilience actually works. So today we were doing the Haileybury Night of Lights. And so it's an event that we do every year. And so for the last few years, I have been the social media person. So I actually go and live stream it. And so we do the countdown. I live stream what it is that's going on throughout the event. And so today it was like, oh, are you going to be Santa's helper? It's like, nope, that's not my plan. And so it cut short. And so like I said, I'm using a very kind of like silly kind of example of resiliency, but it's about being able to roll with the punches. What are we going to take that next step? And what is it that we're going to do next? And I was like, okay, well then apparently, yep, that's what I'm doing. And so like literally the street is full of kids, and like they're spread from like one side of the room, the one side of the road to the other. So it's like to try and like get everybody back in and making sure that you're keeping track of who needs to go next. And so, which typically that's a very simple thing. But when that's not what the plan was, and that's not what it is that was going on, or not what it is that was happening, is it was like, okay, this is what we need to do. And so, and so when, and like I said, this is just a very minor thing and it's really not that big a deal. But for some people, that would actually escalate anxiety. That would actually get things like, oh my gosh, I'm not supposed to be doing this. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And then they start to go into this spin cycle of whatever it is that's going on. I'm just like, I'm supposed to be meeting my grandson and I don't know where my granddaughter is. She was supposed to be coming back to find me. Well, now I'm stuck here. I can't go anywhere. And I don't even have the opportunity to call anybody to say, hey, by the way, I'm not going anywhere. And so my grandson, so my son and daughter-in-law and my husband and my grandson were able to come back and find me, but my granddaughter didn't. And so it's just that that's just an example of how we can actually overcome challenges. And so when we actually take things in that stride of being able to take a step back, figure out what is the next step as to how it is that we're going to be doing that. And so it allows us to be able to, when the next challenge comes in, we can take the next step. And like I said, this is just I'm just using that as a very minor example, but that's the whole point of it, right? So it's about being able to figure out how to take things to that next step. And when we know what it is that we can do, and or sometimes it's about who it is that we can call. Right. So sometimes it's about being able to say, hey, I'm in this pickle. I don't know what it is that I'm going to do next. And I just need to talk it through. And sometimes that's all that it needs, is just that opportunity for us to be able to figure out what is it that we need to be doing next, being able to find coping strategies, being able to make sure that we're taking a break, making sure that we have people in our corner that can actually help support us. And most of the time, most of us feel like we are in this all by ourselves, that we don't feel that there's anyone around that can understand where we're coming from, what it is that's going on, or how that we're going to connect. And so it is so much easier. So now as an adult, or I was an adult anyway, but as a mother of a grown adult, is that I know and I see so many of the moms that are like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? They just got suspended. And I had somebody that I was talking to the other day that said, oh, my kid was kicked off the school bus. And now like I have to try and get my kid to and from school. And it's like, I remember that moment when I got the call and both of my kids got kicked off the bus at the same time. And it was like, now what? What am I going to do? And it's like, I can't drive them to school every day. I can't pick them up from school every day. Like, how is this going to work? And so then my kids learned very quickly that it was like, yeah, that's not going to happen again. You don't fight. And what they did was they fought with each other and then they got kicked off the bus. So they weren't even fighting with other people. They were fighting with each other. And so then it was like, okay, how am I going to do this? And what am I going to do next? And how am I going to like navigate this? And what is it that I'm going to do? Like, I didn't have anybody that can drive them back and forth to school. And so then that day it was like, okay, you guys get kicked off the bus. And it was a nice fall day, but it was like snowy and it had melted. And so there was like lots of water because there had been lots of rain before. And so my kids thought that it was actually going to be pretty fun. And so they walked through they were walking because it was like, okay, I'm following you guys, like you. And so then they thought that it was going to be funny. They were running inside the puddles, inside the ditch. And so I made them walk, and I made them walk all the way back up to the highway. And then at which point then I brought them in the car, but they were screaming at one point. So after about 20 minutes of walking, then I've got these people that are screaming. And at some point, the police showed up and it's like, hey, what's going on? Like, we heard some reports that I'm like, well, they got kicked off the bus. So they're walking home. I'm following them. And so, but it was that fear of like, oh my gosh, now the police are here. And so I'm going to get in trouble. But it was like, okay, so we know what it is that's going on, carry on, and away you go. So like, I even had the support at that point, but I felt completely isolated and completely alone. And so like those are again are just different examples of us being able to, what's the next step and how can we do that? And when we can come up with a plan, then that's what we do. So I have a resilience journal prompt as well as a resilience plan. If you would like those, let me know. And otherwise, I will chat with you guys later, and I will be back on again tomorrow. Bye for now.